Hello everybody, came to see this wonderful car today. It's for sale on the Autoru website. This time it is not sold by resellers, it is sold by a pawn shop. Although I don't see any global difference between the two. It's just that the pawn shop makes 2 times the money the first time. This is when they give a loan and receive interest on it. And the second time, respectively, people resell the unredeemed car further. Well, in general, for me there is no difference in who to buy a car from. Just as long as the thing suited me, the price suited me. By the way, it is a beautiful orange color, but this film is very similar to the color of the Kamaz, which stands next to it. You probably could have noticed that. This is a 2008 Lamborghini Gallardo, but this is no ordinary Lambo. This is a Superligera. For those who don't know, Leggera is kind of like the Mercedes AMG, meaning it's a limited edition. It comes in certain colors, on certain wheels. It has a slightly more powerful engine. I understand that's achieved by tweaking it by literally 10 horsepower. I think it's more powerful, but in general, this car is in a non-standard form. The color, thank God, is a film. The car is actually grey. At the back, the anti-wing is actually a Superligera thing. It sort of has to be there. But the tuning here is like a Hammond. The car was made for the track. Again, I don't really see how you can do anything on a track with a car like this, but still. Anyway, at the moment, I've brought it to my car service and I'm trying to look at it in detail. And let's see together what can do with the car not quite competent tuning, but apparently there was such a task at tuners to disfigure the car and get money for it. So the task, as I understand it, was to make the car as light as possible. In general, the result of this was that the all-wheel drive lamp became a rear-wheel drive lamp. I'll show you that now. Well, and the result of all domestic Kolkosnoga tuning, you will now see for yourself. In general, the Dodger Hayman here may even be original, but here as if people worked not in a childish way. Widened the fenders, and it's not a padding. The fender arches have been cut out. By the way, you can see the oil pouring out. Again, for a car like this, you see, the wires are hanging down on the right-hand side. That's normal for a car like this. There are some plugs. People, as I understand, that the object for tuning and for building is not quite right, because it seems to me that in such artisanal conditions, where it was made, they hardly achieved any super results. But you see, we've got front suspension, no drive, so it's rear-wheel drive. Here is a bunch of other changes, and the person who asked me to examine the car, he had the idea that he wanted to buy it for European use, of course. After watching this video, he realized that the technical inspection on such a car will not pass the task to bring it to the original state. I'll tell you about it later. An interesting point is that the front brake discs of this car remained carbon ceramic rear metal. There's lots and lots of bits and pieces like that. This is me showing you the fans, but the air conditioning radiators have been removed. There should be an air conditioning radiator here, but there isn't. Anyway, the shock absorbers aren't original either. Again, I don't really get it. Maybe, of course, they are more efficient, but the original shock absorber, it seems to me, would probably be quite suitable for this purpose. But there were some great athletes here, so it was either just a matter of utilizing the budget. Anyway, this is what the front suspension looks like without the drivetrain. Basically, I even sort of worked out the symmetry in my head and realized that I had to spend at least 50,000 euros here. But as it turned out later, this figure was very optimistic, because surprises literally at every step here in general are and were waiting for me. I think they still do for people who have bought this car. But you've got to hand it to the guys at the pawn shop, they had no problem providing the car. Look, whatever you want. You see the frame, it's got the air ducts, the heater. I'm all about safety. But for me, when a stock original Superledger turns into a wreck like this, it's kind of wild and painful for me, I guess. At the back, you see some wires just thrown over the top. I didn't even bother with that. The gearbox in this car is now manual. It was a robot, but they've gone to a manual. The multimedia is all ripped out, but that, again, people made it easy. That's just the brakes. Sorry, the rear brakes are carbon ceramic, and the front brakes are some kind of brakes I don't know what they're from. In fact, in these cars, carbon ceramic is not a cheap entertainment, and many people put metal, but they all say that it is to be more efficient. But I think it's just when there is no money and people want to save money. Underfenders also went somewhere, although it seems that underfenders do not weigh anything, but here apparently the struggle was for every gram of extra weight. This is what it looks like without the underfenders. Yes, these are the yellow springs. They're not original, of course. But as best I can, trying to get underneath and show the man what's going on here, I got it to him, and it worked out. You see, it's a good thing they left the trunk recess. Because without it, I think it would be a bit out of place. You see, there are some wires hanging everywhere. This is where the ABS was. As you can see, with the help of wire cutters, the ABS unit was disconnected. Where do all these wires go? This is the original color of the car. The body wasn't beat up, as far as I could measure it with a scope through the tape. The body is actually accident-free. That's very, very good. But, again, bringing this car back to original condition is going to be a very, very painful process in my opinion. It is strange why people did not remove the battery. It also weighs something. I think it would be worth it. Here are some in the body, has some small dents, because on one side there is, on the other side is not. But it doesn't look like it's beaten up, maybe when something was uprooted, damaged. Well, here I'm showing just here, there should have been an air conditioner radiator, which is safely gone. So the question is kind of like this. If you have any opinions, write me in the comments too, whether it was worth doing it at all, because it was actually a cool Lambo. So let's say not standard, but they made such a monster out of it. In my opinion, of course, it was a waste. If you have any other opinions, write. We'll discuss this issue. I'd be interested. Now, I'm going to show you a couple more interesting things that people have done to this car. I think you'll be interested in that as well. By the way, the interior is in great condition. These are all carbon fiber pieces. This is the original one, which is inherent to the Superligera, and that's a cool grey colour right there. I think it would certainly be more interesting. Here we have the addition of a pedal, as this is now a full-fledged manual. Well, of course, nobody knows what they are from. In principle, the mileage on this car is 25,000. Well, the climate, of course. This block is not working. I think that the mileage is similar to the original, because such cars are usually on tow trucks, sometimes go to the track, break down and are repaired again because of the non-original design. There's a white thing hanging from the glass, you see. That's a homemade fire suppression system. Again, I don't know if it's working, but from the way the wire's hanging and the plugs hanging, it's disconnected. This is where the Zerovics are. The air filter housing, of course, is missing here, but it seems that there are catalytic converters, because Europeans are always worried about it, because they will not register a car without catalytic converters. As you can see, the spark plug coils are coloured from some WAG. It's very Audi. Where that green wire goes is a mystery. I think the expansion tank is also from some WAG, if my memory serves me correctly. It must be different on the Superligera. That's what it looks like. In principle, everything is clear to me. I made it clear to the man, and looking ahead, we refused to buy this car. Because in fact, the man did not really believe in my optimistic forecast about 50,000 euros. In general, we gave up on this idea. I'm going to show you a couple more things. I think it will be interesting too. But another thing about this car is the clutch. It is a consumable material. It is expensive here, about 4,000 euros. The clutch could not be read, its wear and tear, because at the moment there was no computer, exactly which is by Lamba. By the way, the glass is cracked. It also costs money, a couple thousand euros. In general, we throw the car out. We decided not to buy it for this money. Well, and in general, once again to calculate how much it will hurt money. In general, the car is so low, you see, that it is very difficult to drive it out of the service. Although back in the day, when we were designing the race, we measured the gradient of the race and the paving. We measured the Ferrari 430 Scuderia. It's quite low, but this car is even lower. Anyway, the mechanic came to me and said that there are probably some problems with the clutch for the simple reason that the car keeps stalling. In general, the man drives the car to the tow truck, and at the moment of just his loading, the car in general will start to crunch the box. And you can see and hear that the squeeze is not happening. In general, the car will break down in this situation. And as it will turn out later that in fact it has burnt out clutch. That's another added defect to this car. In general, in a nutshell, we did not buy the car. Europeans bought the car too. The car went to London. Ironically, they are my acquaintances. At the moment, it has already invested more than 50,000. So far, the cars have not been brought to any adequate condition. So naturally, the first thing that was done was just people change the clutch. So the prediction about the clutch was right. Such a video, I do not know how instructive it is, but it seems to me more than. So if you buy a complex, sporty, and even more so in some tuning, well, you should think 100 times, because it can be the end very unpleasant. First of all, it will be a problem as if with restoration, well, and accordingly, you should understand for yourself how much money you will be able to pull it all. Because here will be a bill for tens of thousands of euros and no less, because it is such a car. That's all for now. Put likes, subscribe to my channel. It's the start of the season. I think that in this season, we will see many more interesting cars. I'll do my best to bring them to you. So happy car season. Bye, everybody.